सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Can you reduce the volume a little bit? सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् हृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्। श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात्। Next couple of chapters, is it clearly audible? Yes or no? Okay. Everybody was seeing, so I didn't know. Next couple of chapters, there will be a series of dynasties talked about. The reason that these series of dynasties are talked about, the link between all these would be revealed in the later chapters. So don't feel bored and turn yourself off with the dynasty and the names that you keep hearing, because at the end of it, it is one of those who is going to play a very important role in the next part of the Katha, to say or to show that Vishwarupa, who becomes the guru of Devatas instead of Brihaspati, when Brihaspati goes for a sabbatical. So that is where Narayana Kavacha comes, and after Narayana Kavacha, how Narayana Kavacha is used, the other details come in. So the storyline would be that the end of this dynasty comes Vishwarupa, who becomes the guru of the Devatas. They get rid of the Asuras from the Swargaloka, regain their rule, and then something happens between Indra and Vishwarupa again. second time in his very lifetime that he insults the Guru. Then there is a Asura born. Then Dajiji comes into picture. Dajiji was the one who is to be a great Upasaka of Narayana Kavacha. So Narayana Kavacha is also introduced way in the beginning. So in order to explain all this dynasty has to be understood. So buckle up, have patience. It's a long story. So in the third chapter we saw the Ajamilopakhyaana, the story of Ajamila. Finally it is, though in the beginning we defined Ajamila as the one who did not meet with the Supreme, Aja Amilaha Yaha Saha, the one who did not merge into the Supreme with his devotion. But later probably you could define Aja Mila. The Lord himself called him, come meet me. That is his grace. Even that kind of papi, karmachyuta, the one who has fallen down from his own responsibilities, is provided for in his grace. So after having done with that story, in the fourth chapter, Parikshit asks a very unusual question. But his aim is to know about this Narayana Kavacham. So he says in the very beginning, Rajovacha Devasurannam Sargaha Naganam Mragapakshinam Samasicatvaya Proktaha Yastu Swayam Bhuventare Tasyaiva Vyavasamichhami Vyasamichhami Jnatum Te Bhagavan Yatha Anusargam Yaya Shaktya Sasarja Bhagavan Paraha. I remember that way in the beginning, in the third canto, Hey Shuka Maharaj, he is the one who is describing this entire Bhagavat to Parikshit. You described about Swayambhu Manu and his progeny and his lineage. But you cut short after two lineages. What happened next? What happened after that? Now this Parikshit's question seems unusual, that he remembers something specific in the third canto and reignites the topic. But Sutaji says, remember who is Sutaji here? As the story, there are many sets of speakers, and you have to always keep track of who is speaking what to whom. In the beginning of this Bhagavat Shastra, it is these Shaunakadi Maharshi who are performing Satra Yaga, and in the morning, before the sunrise, they start the Satra Yaga into the afternoon. Then they have Alpahara. Alpahara is not normally when we do fasting and when we break the fast, it is much more than what we usually eat. You should see on Shivaratri night, at 12 o'clock when everybody breaks the fast, the kind of prasada that comes. Cans and tins of things. Sabudana khichdi, sabudana pakoda, sabudana kheer, all sorts of things, fruits and nuts, and it becomes heavier than the usual diet. But they were really getting into the alpa ahara, very little, so that they would not sleep through the day. And after having had their alpahara, they come to Suta Mahashaya. And this Suta Mahashaya is the one who is approached by these Shaunakadi rishis And it is this Suta Mahashaya who gives the Shaunakadi Rishi all Puranas. All the Puranas that are 18 Purana and 18 Upapuranas are described to this Shaunakadi. One of the main ones is this Bhagavat. So here in between Sutaji says, "Hey Shaunakadi Rishis, asked by Parikshit such beautiful question, which would bring in a link between the transition of the Nama Uchcharana, the greatness of Nama Uchcharana, to the greatness of Mantra and its Upasana. Mantra and Upasana of the Lord. Earlier was just the Mantra Japa or the Nama Japa, by just repeating the name of the Lord, the Mahima of it. So this is something that connects to the next the transition is provided by this Parikshit's question. So Shukadevji starts. He says, the Prachetas had 10 sons. Prachin Barhi had 10 sons who were named Pracheta. They were doing great tapascharya. And around where they were doing the tapasya, because of the floods, Samudra had overtaken. And they were still doing their tapascharya inside. They come out of the Samudra to find that their father's kingdom is covered by lots of forests, different kinds of plants, trees. This kingdom is filled up with these things. So seeing that, thinking that they have to clear this mess, they invoke fire and request fire to burn everything. Lord Chandrama, who is the presiding deity of the forest, comes down requesting the Prachetas that this is something that has to happen in the Kali Yuga, not now. Deforestation has to happen with the Kali Yuga, so you can wait. Spare these plant kingdom. In fact, this plant kingdom gives food to all living beings. That is how these plant kingdoms serve the Lord, by giving food to different creatures. So the explanation is given as to the ones who fly, eat the berries, the ones who are with four-legged ones, they eat the grass and other things, and the other four-legged ones who survive on these herbivorous animals, they require the herbivorous animals, so the plant kingdom has to survive. And the two-legged human being survives on the other kind of anna that is born out of the plant kingdom. So instead of getting angry with them, try to cultivate this kind of plant kingdom and get friendlier with them. So Chandra was the first one to talk about eco-friendly system, because these Prachetas were the ones who were trying to be creating harm to the ecological system, and Chandra proposed the first theory of eco-friendly drive. And in return, they say, hey Prachetas, why don't you marry the daughter of this Vana, whose name is Varkshi. She is actually the daughter of an Apsarasa who was left in this forest, and these forest beings have taken care of them, of that girl, and they would be more than willing to give to such brave ones like you their daughter. So this daughter Varkshi, daughter of Pramlocha, one of the Apsarasas in Indraloka, they marry this girl. Of these Prachetas and this girl that they marry, Panigrahana, is born Daksha, who later becomes the Daksha Prajapati. Okay. From here on, the story becomes little interesting. Because Daksha Prajapati happens to be the son of these Prachetas, the Prachetas. So he is called the Prachetas Prajapati or Daksha Prajapati, and he is nominated to be the creator's right hand in spreading the creation. So in the lineage, if you look at it, Brahmaji is kind of a great grandfather to this Daksha, and one of the sons of Brahmaji is Narada also. So there is going to be a little tussle between these two, Daksha and Narada. It's a very beautiful story here. So this Daksha Prajapati, the first thing that he does after being born and given the responsibility to create and procreate and expand this creation, this is what I like about all these Prajapatis. They don't start running haywire trying to create things. The first thing that they do is spend a chunk of their lifetime in tapascharya, in acquiring the knowledge, know-how as to what should be created and what should not be created, and how it should be created so that there is a balance in this universe. So this Prajapati goes to the Saraswati Nadi. Probably because of the heat of all these Mahatmas who have been doing tapascharya on Saraswati Nadi, now she is gone. Could not withstand the heat of the rishis, she is now lupta. So on that banks he reaches, and then he starts doing his tapascharya, and his final prayer. This final prayer is called Hamsa Guhya Gita. He praises the Lord. And what does he praise? Namah paraya vitanubhutaye gunatraya bhasina nimitta bandhave adrushtadhamne gunatattva buddhihi nivrittamana yadadhe swayambhuve. You are the one who is the inspiration for all the Prajapatis. You are the inspiration of Swayambhu. And you are the causeless cause who does not require any other proof for his or its own existence. You are the one who is the substratum for all the Maya running in the three gunas of Sattva, Rajas, Tamo guna, running this entire universe, but who is not tainted by any of this Maya. It's like when you see the screen in your in the theaters, there is so much of things that are projected onto the screen. Though the screen supports it, does anything happen to that screen when there is a house burnt, or when there is something which is collapsing? Does anything happen to that screen? All kinds of emotions are shown on that screen, projected onto that screen. When there are hordes of people crying, does the screen also require Kleenex? No. It is beyond the Kleenex. It is beyond the effect of the emotions that are displayed on it. It is beyond the happenings of the things that are projected onto the screen. Similarly, O Lord, you are the substratum for this entire universe. And there's one more beautiful thing this Daksha says. He says, Na yasya sakhyam purusho avaiti sakhyuhu sakhavasan samvasatah puresmin. We normally keep searching for a good friend. We are always in search of good friend. I mean, we of course never think about, am I being a good friend? That's a different issue. But we are always in search of a good friend. Sometimes we define, our definitions are pretty limited. Somebody who can watch my back, somebody whom I can trust, somebody whom I can completely believe in. All the other friends are friends only in need, in their need. But when it is our need, probably these friends who normally betray, probably they are the only ones who can betray us. Some Tom, Dick and Harry on the road cannot betray us. It is only the friends who can betray us. But there is only one, O Lord, you, whom I can trust as the best friend ever. You know, what do they call it in the IM language? BFF. Do you know that language? Best friend forever. BFF. I keep talking to the kids. Have I told you POS? It's something that you all should know. When the kids are chatting away on the IM boxes and they find their parents coming into that room, the first thing that they type in is POS. Parents over shoulder, meaning whatever we are talking, keep it at bay. Don't even mention, don't even stretch that logic again further. Similarly, the other abbreviations that I have learnt is BFF, best friends forever. So he says, you are the best friend forever. And where do you stay? You don't stay somewhere in the Swarga or somewhere unreachable corner of this world, but you are right here in the heart. It is in your presence that I can do whatever I do. Though whatever good happens, I like to take the credit. Whatever bad happens, I love to blame it on you. But it is you who is right here in my heart. And to such Narayana, namaskaromi, tasmai maheshaya namaskaromi. To that Maheshwara, I do the namaskara. Then there are people who even have debates. Asti iti nasti iti cha vastu nishtayah. There are some people who say that the Ishvara, the Lord, is asti, asti iti. There are some people who argue that God does not exist. But it is you who is sitting right in the heart, because of whose presence the ones who make the argument as the Lord exists seem really good. And even those who argue saying that God does not exist, even that argument, they seem to make it really interesting. It is because you, the consciousness, you, the life spark, is there in the heart enlivening everybody. Without that, even the ones who are trying to disclaim the Lord cannot disclaim it. And still, you are a friend of everybody. To such God, I pray that you bless me with the wisdom, with the knowledge, with the know-how as to how to create and expand this entire universe. Now to that, Daksha. Now what does Daksha mean? Normally, those who take to the refuge of the Lord are considered as the useless ones. You know, when they are broken, how do you say it, when you have lost money? It's a typical country song. Have you heard a country song? The pickup is broken down. Then the wife has divorced, girlfriend has ditched, dog died, shotgun doesn't work, no beer. And they sing it with a twang. That's what makes country music. This is the crux of any country music, most of it. So people normally come to God when they are completely broke. They have nothing else, nowhere else to go. Only such people come to God. This is one of the beliefs. I'm not making it out of my head. I have had many such interesting conversations. Because when people come and meet, they say, we have a Swamiji at Saket, Dallas. So they have already made an imagination of how a Swami should be, typically. So they come and see, is that your Swami? Are you sure? And some people are very courageous, upfront, very bold. So they said, what was wrong with you? This is way back in 95 when I had just come out of the ashram, gone to a place called Vijayawada, and it was my first study group. And as I entered into that room, I think almost 20-30 people were there. All of them were women, and of the 30 people, at least 25 of them were 60 plus. And they looked at me with sympathy. Here I'm talking of 95, which is almost like 12 years ago. Literally speaking, I didn't even have beard or mustache then. बेचारा घर पे बोल के गए थे कि नहीं? So my answer to them, नहीं भाग के गया था. So their assumption is, क्यों पढ़ाई ठीक से नहीं कर पाए? Did you fail in your exams or something that you ran away from home to become a sadhu? Or then they ask, did you have a fight with your parents or something that you ran away from home? Because only such people take to such path of devotion who have absolutely nothing to give in this life, who are a bunch of losers. That's what they call them. I learned that also from the kids when they say this. Have you seen this expression? This is L, meaning you are a loser. Education. Because she was looking like, oh, is it? Okay, that also get educated. So people who come into this kind of path of devotion, people are normally losers. I should tell you this is the best part. So this mother comes with her son. He was around my age. She said, he has been trying to get through the 12th grade. He has attempted 6-7 times. Could not get through. Even the 10th grade he got through very difficult, with a lot of difficulty. Then we tried him at different jobs. In 1 week, either they got disgusted with him or he got disgusted with them and he quit. So he tried couple of jobs here and there. English he speaks like you, Hatput he speaks English. I was looking like, and your point is, I was waiting for her punchline. He says, I finally thought that he could be sent to your ashram, at least he could be a brahmachari. Like you. I said, wait a second, so far what you said is okay. But just because he is good for nothing, telling that, he will be sent to the ashram, at least he could be a brahmachari. Normally the expectation is they are a bunch of losers who have lost everything, and so Daksha means the most able. In what? In anything that they are given responsibility of. If they do not have the skill, they will enhance themselves with the skill and get the job done. And how did they get that dakshatva, that ability? Is because of the invocation of the Lord's grace. In fact, that Lord's grace is there on everybody. God's grace is something like the switch. If you want to turn all these lights on, there are switches over there. If you come into the room and it is dark, and you keep praying, you keep crying, "Oh electricity Bhagwan, you don't have any karuna on us, you don't have any grace over us." If that electricity could give us some jhatka, I said, "Bewkoof, pehle batti to jala, pehle turn on something." Without turning that on, to expect that electricity to bless these light-giving equipments, to shower light on us. Similarly is the God's grace. Without putting that hard work, that effort, to tune ourselves unto that Supreme, to find His grace becomes impossible. So this Daksha, so skilled that he was chosen to be the one to expand the creation. In order to bless this Daksha, Lord comes down. How does He come down? Krutapadas suparnam se pralambashta mahabhujaha chakrashankasi chirmeshu dhanuh pashagadadharaha. 36th shloka. So the Lord comes down on the Garuda. Garuda Airlines. That is his private jetter. He comes only in that. So he comes on Garuda with his Ashtamahabhuja. He had 8 hands. And in the 8 hands he had Shankha, Chakra. Then he had the sword. Then he had the bow, arrow, Pasha, Gada. Not the dha, it has to be the mace. All these Astra Shastra, he comes down, and he was wearing the most beautiful ornaments on him. Looking at whom Daksha got transfixed on that Lord, and tears, Ashru, was just flowing out of his eyes. Just out of that darshana. No, that darshana was not that painful. That the Lord came and tears started flowing. It was out of that love. It was out of that the presence of the Lord just shook something from within. That it was nothing but love which was flowing in the form of tears. Now to such Daksha, he says, "He Prachetasa," the son of Pracheta, "He Prachetasa Mahabhaga, samsiddhi tapasa bhavan." You have shown your skill again. You have done a great tapascharya and I am pleased with you. Now with my blessings, now here Lord becomes the intermediary agent for Daksha to get married also. He says, "I have chosen a right girl for you. She is the daughter of Panchajanya. Panchajanyasya Duhita, daughter. He Prajapate, I have chosen her as your wife." Marriages are made in heaven. He decided it for him. And he said that I am the one who will perform your marriage also. Pandit kharcha bhi taken care. It was the Lord who performed their marriage. And what was her name? Her name was Asinki, or she was also known as Panchajanya. The daughter of Panchajana was known as Panchajanya. So with this Panchajanya, Daksha gave birth to, imagine how many sons, 10,000 sons. It is said that they were Sankalpa Prabhavan. Just with the wish they were born. Now 10,000 children were born. When they were of age, the father said, you all will be helping me in expanding the creation. Before you take up that task, go to a Tirtha Kshetra where you feel at peace and do tapascharya, invoke the Lord's grace before you can do this. Tatra Narayana, this is in the 5th chapter. Tatra Narayana Sarasaha Tirtham Sindhu Samudrayoho. At the Sindhu Nadi Tira, at the end of the Sindhu Nadi where it goes and meets the sea or the ocean, there was this Narayana Sarasa, Narayana lake. They all reached there. It must have been pretty big. Imagine 10,000 of them. If it were a small one, all 10,000 would not fit in if they had to take a dip. It must have been a pretty big one. So they all went in there for only one reason, to do the tapascharya as the father demanded out of them. So they took the first dip into that Narayana lake. They felt so refreshing and so purified from within. They sat down with ekagra chitta, with so much of concentration and focus on the Lord, so that they could fulfill Father's blessings. Enter the scene. Narayana, Narayana. You know who. Naradji comes in. Naradji looks at these 10,000 young, unwedded, happy people. He says, Uvachata, Uvacha, Chatha, Haryashvaha. Hey Haryashvaha. These 10,000 were named as the Haryashvas. You could name them Haryashva 1, Haryashva 2, Haryashva 10,000. They were all the group, and the group was named the Haryashva. What exactly are you trying to meditate on, and what exactly are you trying to achieve? As he asked, he said, our father sent us and we are doing the tapascharya for helping him create this universe. And why should you help him create this universe? Says if you keep performing the karma acquires more and more of vasana, and the Sukshma Sharira gets attached to every single thing that you do, and the attachments bring rise to likes and dislikes, you end up trying to secure that which you like, discard that which you don't like, procure more of things that which you like, and this continues life after life after life. Have you understood the basis, that which really makes you alive and kicking? What is it that which makes you really alive? Have you understood why you were born? And he introduces a couple of terms. Just think about it this way. There is this village, and in this village lives one gentleman. He has a very shameless wife, and he himself is pretty shameless because he keeps changing. He is like a low living person who does not have a character of himself, and he dwells in a place which is made of 25 elements. Think about it. These Haryashvas were like, wait a second, what did you mean? I said, meditate on it. Now Shukdev ji says that these 10,000 of them had a group discussion. That would have been a pretty interesting group discussion, right? Imagine 10,000 of them. They must have been very pious, and they did want to think about what Naradji said. He says, they finally understood the message that Naradji gave. They understood that it is the buddhi which is bahurupini, and it keeps transferring from the three phases, three different moods of sattva, rajas, tama. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is very restless, sometimes it is very mean, and it does not have a control over its wife. Wife here is the mind. The mind which has to be under the control of the buddhi. Instead of staying with the buddhi, where does it go? With anything that looks, that appears in the world as attractive, it jumps over there. Have you seen a dog when it sees a biscuit? That is how the mind inside is craving for all the things that look attractive. And that is also like the word is used pretty strong word. The word used is vyabhijarinivat. It is like a prostitute which can go anywhere. That is how the mind is. That's a pretty strong word to use. And you analyze it, it appears the same. आज इधर कभी उधर जाता रहता है mind. Even while we are supposed to be meditating on the Lord, or when we are supposed to be in a most sattvic mode, does our mind not go here and there? Physically we are here, but where will our mind go? Anywhere. It doesn't need a visa, it doesn't need a green card. It can go anywhere. It doesn't need any permits, it doesn't need any licenses. It just is swachhanda charini. Swachhanda charini, whimsical pattern, it goes everywhere. And it is this body which is made of these 25 different elements, and the Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira, which keeps us bound with these attachments. Without working on these things, whatever karma we do without even offering it to the Lord, they become binding. I think Narada helped us a lot. So they sat down again, withdrawing all their senses from any kind of craving or attachments. Now here, Daksha, who was eagerly waiting for his sons, that song, पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा, बेटा हमारा इंजीनियर बनेगा. And the father is like pacing up and down. Where did my sons go? It seems he was also seeing all kinds of bad omens. Like he would dream about something bad happening to the kids, that they were attacked by somebody, that they would all die or perish or something like that. So he got worried and he sent his messengers to find that not one among these 10,000 were willing to spare their happiness. They said, we are pretty happy where we are, what we are doing. We are not interested in coming there. And they also got in the information who changed their minds. You know, your Narada, he was the one who spoiled their brains. He got so mad and he rushed to Brahmaji and said, Brahmaji, your son, you know, Narada. I said, cool. Take it easy. Why don't you try another time? Now he went back again. This time he wanted to experiment with again another set of sons. He created a group of 1,000 kids, sons again. One thing is clear, Baba. Sons never listen to the parents. It's a default setting in the creation, right from the beginning. So these 1,000 kids were called the Shabalashva. Again, Shabalashva 1, Shabalashva 2, Shabalashva 3, Shabalashva 1,000. You couldn't number them. The group was called Shabalashva. These Shabalashva also were asked to go meditate on the Lord. But again, however angry he was, he didn't change the process. He said, first take the blessings of the Lord. They also found the right place in this Narayana Tirtha. And there Naraji was waiting. Because he was already proud that he had 10,000 students, Shishya, who had taken to his word and believed in what he said and were on the process of Nivritti Marga. Now, as soon as these 1,000 young kids, again, next batch came in, all that he had to say was, look, don't waste your time in what your father is saying. Look at your 10,000 brothers. If you think I was talking something wrong, they are so happy. Don't you want to be happy? And he left. Narayana, Narayana. Because these 1,000 were also mesmerized and initiated by his own brothers, by their own brothers. Now he had 11,000 Shishya. He again, the Daksha started seeing different kinds of bad omens again. Now when Daksha finally found out that his 2 experiments gone weird. Not that the experiment would have gone weird if not for Narada. So he called Narada. ऐसे गालियां नारद जी को पड़े, बाप रे बाप. हे पाखंडी, अहो असाधो. Daksha Uvacha. This is in the 36th shloka of the 5th chapter. Aho asadho sadhunam sadhulingena nastvaya. You call yourself to be a sadhu living among the sadhus. You are the worst. You are the greatest enemy for the sadhutva. You are the kalanka for sadhutva. See, if you are really a sadhu, and when somebody scolds you personally, they never take it seriously. That is when they use the tunnel. You know the tunnel effect? You don't know? That is called the tunnel effect. Have you heard this? What do you call 18 morons year to year? A long wind tunnel. I have heard these jokes as moron jokes, Scottish jokes, blonde jokes. So you can replace any one of them. So Naraji was with a smile on his face. Daksha, continue. As though he was praising him. Looking at his smile, Daksha got even further irritated. How irresponsible can a sadhu be? I am scolding you and it doesn't even disturb you. You know how difficult it is for a grihastha to raise their children? Not 1 or 2, 11,000 of them. And poor fellows, they did not even see what the world looks like, and you already spoiled them. With the Brahmacharya ashrama, they had to fulfill their Rishi Runa. With the Yajna Yaga Adi that they have to do after the marriage, they would have given or fulfilled the Deva Runa. And then with giving progeny, they would have fulfilled the Pitru Runa. Without doing this, you have initiated them into some unknown path. You are a gone case. Now you have spoiled even my 11,000 kids. You are supposed to be the messenger of the God. You are the messenger of unhappiness. You are the epitome. You are the embodiment of all bad in this world. At least a grihastha is a happy one who is ready to provide for anybody in this world. And you snatch from such grihasthas? Daksha must have been really, really ticked off. He goes on and on bashing Naradji, scolding Naradji. This is the height of sadhutva. When personally challenged, when personally abused, not a word uttered by Naradji. He did not react to the reactions of Daksha. He kept his cool. And finally, the unexpected happened. What did he say? He took some water, Daksha, and gave a shapa to Narada. What was the shapa? Tantukrutanan yastvan tvam bhadram acharaha punaha tasman lokeshu te moodha. What did he call him? Moodha. Na bhaved bhramatah padam. He says, Are murkha? You all seen the Mahabharat DVDs, right? Mahabharat series. Hey Murkha Shiromani! This is how Daksha would have been screaming at him. I curse you because you are staying at one place, you are creating such a havoc in this world. From today on, you shall not stay in one place more than the time required to milk a cow. And probably Naradji nowadays is more traveling. Hope he is earning lot of travel miles. Because nowadays with the machines, the milking time has reduced. So he cannot even stay in a place as he would stay earlier. Go duhana kala. I mean the time taken to milk the cow, you will not stay even that time. See, Narada with his caliber would have immediately cursed Daksha back. He had that capacity to do it. But look at Naradji. See, 11,000 people got benefited out of him. He did not utter a single word saying, did you know what I have done? Do you even have a clue what I have done to your kids? I have done the best thing. He did not provide an argument. When he got a curse, he did not retaliate back with a curse. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, nothing of that concept. When he got a curse, what did he do? He went ahead, prostrated to Daksha, shook his hands, said, thank you. Daksha was like, thanks, Buddhu, I just cursed you. I said, that is why I am thanking you. What did he do? Tad badham naradaha sadhu sammataha. He said, sadhu sammataha. Thank you very much. Why? If I stay in one place, there is a probability, there are high chances of me getting attached to different things. Sadhu is the one who should always be traveling, always be moving from one place to the other. Never stick to one place. Never. They should keep moving constantly. Because the moment you stay, there will be ashram built, there will be devotees, there will be disciples, then you have to start creating, provide for that many. As you are traveling, as you are moving, no ashram, no devotee, no disciple, nothing to do. And he said, I can in fact travel to as many places as possible, taking the name of the Lord and trying to give the right message to the people so that they can go towards the Lord. Thank you again. Look at the greatness. A Mahatma is not a Mahatma because of what they wear, what they eat, what they do. It is how they receive the happenings in life. He was not bogged down at all by any of these curses. He in fact took it with such positive spirit that even Daksha got confused. Did I curse him or did I bless him? A great man's wisdom is in changing a curse to a blessing, making the best out of the situation. Now he was in further distress, Daksha. I actually wanted to curse that fellow, but he took it as a blessing. You know, when somebody is trying to hurt you, when somebody is trying to really give you that pain, and even in that adversity, you walk with a smile, undisturbed by that adversity. Try it. When somebody is trying to scold you, just try to put on a smile on your face. The heights of irritation on the other person reaches to a next level. So Daksha was so fuming. What did he do? Now with the Haryashva gone and the earlier set of 10,000 gone, Daksha was totally confused. He went back to Brahmaji. He said, "Where am I going wrong?" See, Brahmaji's confusion. On one side, Daksha is required to do the pravritti. On the other side, his own son is famous for nivritti. Could not say anything against Narada also. He only said, "This third time you shall not fail. This is my word to you." So Daksha comes back. This time, he said, "Wait a second, where am I going wrong? If 2 releases went wrong, I should do my research well. I have not done the market survey. The statistics, the data available is not complete." So he did his tapasya again and then found the best way to start the creation is to give birth to girls. At least girls will obey the father's word. The sons are the useless kind. I didn't. Daksha said that. So what did he do? This comes in the 6th chapter. Shashtim Sanjayanayamasa Duhitruhu Pitruvatsalaha. He gave birth to 60 daughters. Man, his capacity. So what happened to these 60 daughters? 10 got married to Dharma, 13 got married to Kashyapa, 27 got married to Chandrama, 2 got married to the Bhuta, 2 got married to Angira, and 2 got married to Krushashva, and the 4 were married to Tarksha, the other Kashyapa. There are 2 Kashyapas here. One is the Tarksha Kashyapa and the first one was only Kashyapa. Now each one of these lineages is explained. What happened to Dharma and his 10 wives. Then after the Dharma, then the Kashyapa, then Chandrama and his lineage, then the Bhuta and his lineage, Angira and his lineage. So in explaining all these lineages, which is like almost 60 shlokas, having explained all these lineages, he says that Vivaswan, who had 2 wives, one wife's name is Sanya, the other's name was Chaya, and then later became the guru for the gods. So that triggered a question in Parikshit's mind. Actually, the guru of the Devas is Brihaspati. What happened to Brihaspati, and why did Vishwarupa end up becoming their guru? Like the Daitya Kula has their guru who is Shukracharya, whereas the Deva Kula has the guru who is Brihaspati. Now what happened to Brihaspati in between? Why did he, or where did he go? So the story is explained by Shukracharya. He says that Indra, having gained a lot of wealth, see this is in the Dharma Shastra it is mentioned that whenever we are successful, success normally leads to pride. And wherever there is pride, that person becomes blind to all austerities. Which is like the saying that we have, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Indra got such a great command, great power with him. With his Indrani, his wife, one day he was sitting in the court in the Swarga, walks in Brihaspati, the guru. Though he looked at him, he just looked through him. Because Indrani was saying some good fantasy stuff, and he didn't want to move from that moment. He did not even budge out of the place. Brihaspati stood there for a couple of minutes. He noticed that Indra had seen him come in, but he was purposefully ignoring his presence. So Brihaspati very clearly saw that there is no necessity for this person who takes such pride. Jnana, wisdom or knowledge will not be respected or will not be valued by such person. So Brihaspati calmly left from that place. It was only later that he came out of that spell of his wife that he found that Brihaspati was not there. In the Puranas, wherever we read, it has been often seen that wherever people of wisdom, even the history shows that, wherever the people of wisdom are mistreated, that community, that society falls down rapidly. Because wisdom is the brain power. And when you do not value that brain power, what do you call it in the corporate world? Think tank. When you do not value the think tank, the rest of the processes do not move smoothly. There is a fall down, it crashes, it crumbles. Indra, he was a disappointment in Brihaspati's eyes because he disrespected the guru. Normally it is said, when you find a man of wisdom, even in Vivek Chudamani it comes, three people or three things that can happen in our life, which is called the greatest blessings of the Lord, if these things are there. We normally keep asking, right? Do I have His grace? Does God love me? He loves me not. Go test. How do we know? How do we end up knowing if Lord, His grace is showering on us? I think it comes in the third shloka of Viveka Chudamani. The three factors are Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayaha. If these three things happen, it is called Daiva Anugraha Hetukam. Lord's grace 100% showering on such person. See, none of these, there is nothing mentioned that there will be such a wealth, such a status in the society, or such stock holding. Nothing of that kind is mentioned. When does the grace really shower on a person? Manushyatvam. Manushyatvam is not being a human being. We are all born human being default. But are we behaving as one? It is said that all jivas get different births, different kinds of species. But what happened in Kali Yuga, that these other species, the animals and the plant kingdom and the other things that are to be there, the forests are reduced. So these jivas who would have been born as different jantus, they do not have their platform. So what happens to them? They are born as human beings with the animalistic tendencies. That's why we say, right, when somebody is really being very mean, कुत्ते जैसे मत behave करो. I have heard the other version. There was somebody who was, जैसे गधे के औलाद, something like that. Somebody criticized or scolded one young boy, and there was a donkey nearby. It started crying. I said, somebody went and asked, why are you crying? The donkey said, हम इतने गए गुजरे हैं कि वो मेरा बेटा है. I also feel insulted to call that fellow as my son. That's why I said yesterday's verse, somewhere we came across, and I said, you are not worthy enough to be compared with anything at all. But we are born with animalistic passions, animalistic tendencies. The spirituality starts when we start being a human being. As we would love the world to treat us, if we start treating the world in that way. I am not talking anything at a UN level or at a universal brotherhood. बकवास है. पहले अपने यहाँ से शुरू करो. All lofty thoughts about universal brotherhood and other things, but when it comes around ourselves, it is stinking. It's not just charity that starts at home. Every value, every moral, every ethical standpoint starts from the personal level. That's when you start being a human being. Manushyatvam. Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam. The one who has the capacity to master and win over his own equipment of body, mind and intellect. These are the things which limit us. The one who has mastered the mind, he can master the world. The one who can unlimit himself from these bondages of body, mind and intellect, instead of getting used by this body, mind and intellect, the one who learns the art to use them so that they be benefit to the society as well as benefiting themselves. Mumukshutva. How do we awaken that sleeping giant within? Mahapurusha Samshrayaha. It is when we meet a great master who can rekindle that talent, that latent potentiality in us to grow to be somebody. So, three things: Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayaha. If we have these three, the other happenings in our life, ups and downs of our life, does not matter. They keep happening irrespective of where we are or what we are doing. But if we have these three, we have 100% grace of the Lord. But if we miss that third part, if we insult, if we do not respect, if we do not value a man of wisdom, it is not the loss of the man of wisdom, it is our loss. And the man of wisdom does not come with a stature. In fact, Dattatreya, when you look at his gurus, we will be surprised that one of his gurus is a prostitute. Because she had that kind of focus on the Lord in spite of what happening was in her life. His guru was a lady with bangles. She was wearing 2 bangles and he had gone into that house for asking for bhiksha. In those days at least, thank goodness, when somebody came for food, it was not, kal ki roti, parson ki bhaji, dated, undated in the refrigerator, lying there, nobody liked it, so de do usko. She said, okay, wait, I'll freshly cook for you. In those days, the paddy was to be, to take the husk off, you have to pound it. So she took that paddy and put it in that, ओखल बोलते हैं हिंदी में, stone grinder, okay. The mortar and the pestle she started pounding with the grains. And she was having 2 bangles on her right hand. As she was pounding, that is also an art. If you have been in villages or seen that, it's an art. Those who are not introduced to that art, they'll be sweating but not doing any work. No output. We keep pounding it. That is not how it is, the pestle is to be used. Gravity does its job. All that you have to do is, after the gravity does its job, you pick it up. Give it a height and then drop it. So if you look at them, they will be swinging. And in that movement, they are just picking it up. And they are not, exhausted as an untrained person would be. So as she was pounding it, the bangles were making sound. So she took 1 bangle off, put it on the other hand, and continued with her work. Dattatreya, seeing this, transfixed in meditation, attained samadhi. So after he came out of the samadhi, then she asked, what happened? What triggered it? He said, it was you. What did I do? Said, you indicated that when there is more than one, it makes sound. When there is only one, there will be no sound. Advaitam paramam sukham dvayat bhayam bhavati. Whenever there is more than one, there is going to be a kalaha. See, normally when there are 2 people, there are 3 parties. My party, your party, our party. Politics began. And when there is only one, there is nishkala, there cannot be any further mutilation of anything. So that Advaita Paramam Sukham. And that was enough for him to learn. So when we have that openness to learn, automatically we will turn humble before anybody who has that wisdom. And right in there, who is his guru, he disrespected him. And he sent the search squad, Indra's search squad. They say that they had Vimana and they could transport themselves from one place to the other by becoming antardhana, like they vanish here and they appear there. If you have seen Star Trek, beam me up Scotty, same pattern. They searched every single place. They did not find Brihaspati. Meanwhile, though they were asuras and daityas, they had one good thing in them: they would obey their guru, who was Shukracharya. Obeying the orders of Shukracharya, finding that Indra was in a desperate condition without Brihaspati's guidance, the Daityas attacked and all the Devas ran away hither and thither. So after having ran away from the Swarga, they all repooled at Brahmaji's place. At Brahmaji's place, knock knock. Indra, with a saddened face, he said, I did my mistake. I realized how stupid I was. I should not have disrespected Brihaspati. With his Yoga Maya, we don't know where he is. So Brahmaji advises them. Aho badasura sreshtha hyabhadram vakritam mahat brahmishtam brahmanam dantam aishwaryanabhyanandata. He says, when you insult or disrespect a person, a man of wisdom, brahmishtam brahmanam dantam, the one who was such a pious man, definitely all your Aishwarya will collapse. One request at this juncture. Normally, it becomes a habit. Like, we make fashion statements, we make other statements also. There are certain people, Mahatmas, whom you may not like, who may not be at the same level as you would have liked. It does not matter. Do not criticize them or abuse them. We may not know their greatness. Fine. If you did not like, move away. Never criticize. For one reason, that is why even Narada was laughing when Daksha was criticizing him and abusing him. He says, whatever little prarabdha was left of mine, thanks for scolding me that you have partaken with it. Whatever bad was to happen to me, now you have become a participant who has volunteered to take away that prarabdha. We may not understand their mahatmya, we may not understand their greatness, we may not like them. Fine, it is your personal choice. But never criticize them. Is this request clear? Okay, moving forward. So Brahmaji suggests, why don't you all go to this great tapasvi called Vishwarupa? Who is this Vishwarupa? We heard earlier, right? That he was the one who was married to the last daughter of Diti, the sister of Daitya Kula, Rachana. So he is Mr. Rachana, Vishwarupa, his name. So they all that fellow who is married to a Daitya. But you don't have any other choice. Don't again disrespect another man of wisdom. This is what Brahmaji said. Go request him to be your guru. And believe me, he will bring back all your Aishwarya. Surrender to him. Now this, all Devas, they go to Vishwarupa with a request, plea. They say, to this Vishwarupa, "Hey Vishwarupa, you are younger than us, but with your wisdom we have come seeking refuge with your wisdom. Can you please guide us, being our Guru?" And they went on praising about his capacities and how they have heard of him. "I have heard so great, we have heard so great of you, and you are the only one." Vishwarupa said, "You lost one Guru because of some foolishness that you must have done. Because I know your Guru Brihaspati. Now the ones who have mistreated Brihaspati, I am in comparison to Brihaspati nothing. What would be your treatment to me?" A valid question, right? I am busy in my tapascharya. Why should I waste my time missing out on my tapascharya to come and guide you who are not ready to listen to Brihaspati? He said, "That is a mistake that for which we are all sorry, but can you bless us?" And then they talk about, the Acharya is, like the Veda. The father is like Prajapati. The mother is like the Mother Earth. The brother is like Indra. And the sister is like Daya. Atma is like Dharma. Acharya is that Brahma who has to guide us. We want you to be that Acharya. Then, Vishwarupa says, see, normally being a Purohita for a Yajamana, "Vigarhitam dharmashilaihi brahmavarcha upavyayam." He says, all my brahmavarchasa will be spent on protecting you Devas. Of all the tapobala that I have will be spent on protecting you from all the stupid things that you would be doing. But since you are all elderly, requesting me, I take it as an order and be of help to you, to guide you. So now Vishwarupa becomes their Guru. This Vishwarupa, married to the Daitya daughter, had an inclination towards Daityas also. He was personally close to Shukracharya also. But showing his allegiance towards the gods, the first thing that he does to Indra is teach him the Narayana Kavacha, to protect him, to enable him regain his glory and his kingdom back. Now what is that Narayana Kavacha? That comes in the 8th chapter. A very beautiful Kavacha. I will explain the principle of Kavacha tomorrow. Because of that Narayana Kavacha's importance, we had to go through the dynasty. Though I did not go much in detail about the dynasty, but Vishwarupa and his marriage to Daitya, Rachana, is what we had to understand out of that lineage, so that we could understand this part of the story. We will hear about this Narayana Kavacha tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.